Thank you, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So first of all, thank you for having me today in this amazing panel of trans specialists. So I'm really delighted. Sorry to be, at such a distance, but there will be a time in which I will be present, promised. And thank you, BBK. Thank you, C4E, and all the amazing organizers. Superb organization. So. First of all, I know you had a different title listed in the program, so I'm sorry about that. I changed it at the very last moment, but I thought that I had to put what I wanted to say, which is still there. So don't worry, it's the same talk, but I needed to have a larger context for the things that I'm going to talk about. So this is urgent in a sense that I think we learn as we progress. So what is my agenda for the next 20 minutes or so? It might be less, might be a bit more, hopefully less. And it's as follows. First of all, I will say really few words about me and about the company I helped found a few years ago. But given that that there was such a great introduction, I will spend less time there. I will then introduce an analogy with a much discussed buzzword in the realm of sustainability. You can see them there. It's biodiversity and regeneration. But I wanted them to be applied in a different area. So it's an unexpected, let's say, application, which is the creative digital space. So this is what I'm going to basically explain. So, and if you will bear with me, we will discover that there are real-world implications that are more than metaphorical when we speak about what you can see there, the biodiversity of creativity. And in discussing this analogy, I will showcase some of the AI that often is thought of as a problem in terms of stifling creativity and being what brings homogeneity in our world. But AI can be indeed part of the solution. This is what I want to explain and showcase, if this kind of technology is designed with this purpose in mind. So finally, I will actually get into a different scenario. So all this discourse will bring us to consider an unprecedented change in how we conceptualize scarcity, or what as I like it to define, rarity and abundance in the creative digital space. So these are the main concepts you will see through the presentation. But let's get started. So this is me. So I hold a PhD in philosophy. So I'm no engineer here, but I actually specialize in a very abstract field of philosophy, which is called ontology. But then, of course, my interest shifted a bit into the philosophy of technology and AI. By the way, most of the things that technologists are doing behind the scenes when they are doing AI has been already said by Aristotle. So this is something to be kept in mind. And after my academic career, which was actually ended by the idea of doing an entrepreneurial project in the digital space, I founded a company with my brother, which is called iCoolhunt, but then renamed into Nextatlas, which is our main product. And Nextatlas has been pioneering since a few years in a novel approach to trend forecasting. So we saw a number of super talented trend specialists in this conference. But what we wanted to bring into this space is something that was happening, but still not really happening in this very space of trends. So it was bringing big data technology and AI as a way to understand better what are trends, what are changing behaviors, and so on and so forth. So, and Nextatlas, by the way, is built on a very unique assumption and methodology. So it's based on the idea, and I'm going to the next slide, that there are a huge number of innovators around the world, and they are actually contributing a lot into the mainstream social media space. So, and if we thought if we had a way to collect what they contribute and analyze that, we'd probably get a more cleaner, let's say, view on what are the emerging trends at scale. So this is the slide that I typically use with my daughter. She's a fan of Billie Eilish, what she sees for the first time as a cool fashion trend, for instance, has been already originated by a number of unknown innovators in social media, be it Tumblr, be it Reddit, be it Instagram, or whatever is the place in which these people are acting. And all this basically is, it's crunched by machines that are doing, lots of different analysis. So it be it textual or visual. And what we provide then to our clients, we work mainly with global clients, global brands and agencies, is this kind of automated reporting, which is, again, something different from the old-fashioned way of doing trend reports and trend forecasting. So it's more short form, it's real time, it's mainly visual, it's data-backed, meaning that what the other interesting part of our endeavor, I think, was that we wanted to find this, let's say, mystical place between inspiration and numbers. So it's been always this kind of conflict between teams in brands, like, the creative directions and the number guys and the merchandise guys. And we wanted to have a place in which these teams can understand each other by looking into qualitative and creative and inspirational stuff, but backed with evidences. So this is Nextatlas, and this is what we do for a living. But the point that I will make here is basically a big, huge learning that we had by building this kind of technology. So that the data that we are using for our analysis, social media data. So from the major social media data that we all use. But given that it's a few years that we are doing this, we witnessed a strange, phenomenon. So it has been really the difference and the diversity and the visual diversity in this social media has been really declining through the years. But this is kind of, of course, very explainable in the sense that when you get mainstream adoption of this kind of technologies, then you get mass doing the stuff that typically mass does. So there's no, let's say, surprise in that. But still, it's a problem when you are using this kind of data to provide interesting and insightful content and directions to your clients. So this is what this is a pure challenge that we need to address. And so, of course, in the very beginning, places like Instagram were like super raw creativity and ideas. But right now it's kind of different. So this is a fantastic project that has been initiated by this artist. She's Emma Agnes Scheffer. I guess you know about that. So it's called Insta Repeat, and Insta Repeat is basically the illustration of how we are basically all doing the same photographs on this kind of social media. So there's some kind of visual sameness everywhere. Everyone is essentially making the same photo time and again. So this is actually, I think that it's in your experience, and it's interesting because all these visual stereotypes then are channeled through strategic insights. So brands are typically then feeding again into this world with other stereotypes, and it's a huge cycle of sameness. And this is actually bad. So it's not good. It's not good in two ways. So it's not good because, of course, it's completely uninspiring. You're doing the same thing that many people are doing. And then there are, of course, what I was mentioning before, real world implications. Take a look at this one. So when you're doing, let's say, take travel as an example. When you're doing and repeating all these behaviors and these visual stereotypes, they immediately translate in real world behaviors. This is a place in Norway which is suffering from over-tourism because it's so popular as an Instagram spot that now is a problem. So this is actually, again, a real-world sustainability implication that comes from what I was defining as a problem in the biodiversity of creative content. So I think you can see the implication here. And whereas the problem before seemed like a very superficial, shallow, let's say, first world problem, now you see that there are super direct implication into the environment, for instance. And it's not limited to the external environment. So if you, for instance, take a look at how our interiors look like, lately, they are all the same. So if you just, this is actually my office, so it's kind of similar to the office you're seeing here, which is basically one of the many places of WeWork around the world. So homogeneity also in the interior design is what this fantastic author called Kylie Chayka has defined as airspace. So if you can read the quote here, it's like, we could call this strange geography created by technology airspace. It's the realm of coffee shops, bars, startup offices, and co-live workspaces that share the same hallmarks everywhere you go. A profusion of symbols of comfort and quality, at least to a certain connoisseurial mindset. Minimalist furniture, craft beer, avocado toast, reclaimed wood, industrial lighting, cortados, and fast internet. And the point is that the homogeneity of these spaces means that traveling between them is completely frictionless. So you're basically everywhere in the same place. And of course, this can be thought as a problem in terms of again, visual diversity. Sorry, oops. Here we are. But then, of course, we looked at the outdoor, we looked at the indoor, and now just look at ourselves, at our bodies and our identities. This is another phenomenon on Instagram. It's a subculture of look-alike people. So there's plenty of people. This is something I was shocked to discover that try to look like celebrities in a very specific way, not just dressing like them, but actually modifying their bodies to look like, for instance, Kim Kardashian. So, and this phenomenon has been defined by Jaya Tolentino in a beautiful New Yorker article, the Instagram face. So all the Instagram faces tend to look the same. Again, sameness all the way down. And by the way, this is a super dystopic in the way that these Kardashian lookalikes then themselves become influencers. So they are actually speeding up, the lookalike subculture. So it's like a vicious cycle that sees no end. So to recap these 3 steps, outdoor, indoor, person and body, you see that the visual sameness has an impact which is not that shallow. It's about diversity, again, inclusivity, environment, and everything attached to all this concept, which is huge. But then if you think about the interaction between social media and the world, this is what happens. So these are the key learnings. So the social media sameness might be to a certain extent inescapable, because of course this is actually in the building blocks of our society, in our communities. Think also TikTok challenges, which are this way of doing it again. Everybody do the same things on TikTok, and these are trends in a way. But of course, it's not that it's bad per se, but because of course we build society by imitating each other and creating bonds with each other. The problem is that the technology typically boosts this kind of processes and can be excessive to a certain extent. So and then there are algorithms that are designed also to foster homogeneity, because if you want to see something, then you want to see again almost the same thing. And this is, again, a look that is driven by technology. But this is, of course, a responsibility of the AI designers, but still it's ingrained in our behaviors as people that are typically, taking comfort in the familiar and the homogeneous. So this is, again, not really surprising. But this is a big, huge sameness bubble that humans have learned through the centuries to break in ways that are with art, with technology. And I think that there's a space here to deploy a technology that can help break these kind of bubbles and sameness bubbles. So we need to really find ways to revive these out of the ordinary and rare occurrences that might help us regenerate the creative biodiversity that was original to the digital space. And as you will see, I think, and I hope you agree, AI might be of help. So this is a concept I'm really fond of lately. So all my team here, it's complaining that I'm talking about this kind of concepts constantly. And there's I think this is the crucial concept that we have to discuss in the future about the role of technology and also of creativity. So what we experimented with was like playing with algorithm design to find ways to do exactly the opposite that typically machines are doing. So like finding needles in the hay. So this is what we design, and I show you some examples because we think this might be really game-changing in some contexts. Take this photo. This is actually, the stereotypical outdoors, just like we saw in the very first discussion of our sameness bubble. This mountain photo, outdoor photo. Okay, this rarity detection algorithm is, basically provides and gives a score to images that are, or too common or very rare. So it has somehow learned to find what are the interesting, not standard visual formats, and basically just gives like a score. So you can see here that the score here is very low in terms of rarity. So this is something extremely common. And then there's, if you see on top of the other chart is based on coolness score. So it's built on top another, let's say, metric that is able to say, okay, this kind of rarity or commonality can provide some kind of engagement. So if you post this, then this is kind of safe bet. It's not that quirky. It's not even a poor image. So this is actually predicting what are the reaction of people looking at this kind of photo. This is for the, let's say, the outdoor sameness that we saw before. And of course, this can be applied. Rarity detection in our AI is completely agnostic to the, let's say, to the kind of content that is analyzing into the photo. So this is, again, airspace in its best, let's say, rendition. And you can see that the rarity is super low. Actually, it's almost absent. And it's typically very safe to, to provide this kind of visual because it's common and it's cool in a very, again, innocuous and innocent way. There's nothing risky here in terms of creativity. And again, this is something that basically proves what we are seeing in a very, let's say, qualitative way. This is just, recognized at scale by machines. This is a bit more interesting because it's not really the typical Instagram face, because of course there's like freckles and this lady here as a, it's like in a different position as a normal selfie, and so the rarity score is a bit higher, but still it's not that rare. And it's again a safe bet because what you get here is something that is beautiful, is standardly beautiful, I would say. And there's no really quickness there. The quirkiness, we define it as something that it's very, very strange, but that provides a lot of engagement. So it's something that can be potentially viral, in the social media, let's say, lingo. And of course, in the end, there's something that is not that usual. So this algorithm is able to see a photo like this one and say, okay, this is kind of weird. So it's super rare. I didn't see that, before. And by the way, it's super quirky because there's something strange there. And the sheer composition of pixels there, looks like very original. It doesn't, there's no judgment of, let's say, beauty behind these algorithms. It can be really rare and quirky, but can be still beautiful or not beautiful let's say, if we judge it, let's say, from an aesthetical point of view. The point here is that this is really unseen. You don't typically see in your feed, I bet, many photos of this kind. And so this is for the rarity algorithms. So we at Nextatlas, we have studied the world of modern social media since its inception, basically. And over the years, we have accumulated a constellation of insights into the factors which give birth to global trends. And this data has given us the impetus to create a way to measure the originality and innovation of social media content. This is what you saw until now. So in a sea of online content, what makes humans connect and engage with each other stories? This is the question that we basically devised to answer. And when we tried to answer this question, we wanted to design something that discovers social media posts which break free from the traditional canons of visual formats. And so going back to the methodology, with which we merge technology with trend forecasting methodologies that are more, let's say, traditional, we use the rarity algorithm also to discover interesting profiles, because the assumption again here is that if they contain the seeds of originality, they probably contain the seeds of what might be a future trend. So, and then let's say the final, the other buzzword that is super discussed right now in sustainability, and it's about giving back to the space and the planet in this case that we are consuming on the other way. And this is actually applies again in a very similar way to the digital space. So interestingly, we can help generate difference at scale, as I was defining it, by using AI. So we can provide more creativity instead of less, and more difference instead of homogeneity. And how we do that? Well, for instance, again, we experimented with a number of technologies. So this is again a bit of showcase of what we do. You might have heard about generative design, which is a way to feed a huge amount of data to a machine, a neural net, and have it basically being creative on top, so as an output, with many possible configuration and scenarios in terms of design. We experimented that with for instance, trend reports. So we fed literally tens of thousands of trend reports to a GPT-2 text generation machine. And we now have like what we call the trend writer. So it's basically automating the creative process when we write trend reports. So basically, it just provides a number of possible trend reports based on a prompt and of a beginning of a text. So, and the interesting fact is that this kind of technology are super able to be on topic and even be as specific as addressing certain subtopics such as, let's say, vaccines or holidays. And the other interesting part is that you can tune this kind of technology to be extremely conservative in what they invent, or extremely creative, so they can be super far-fetched in what they devise. Our understanding of this kind of technology is not just to let them do creative randomness, because it might be useful from an inspirational point of view, but then might be extremely useless when you have to apply it into a real business. And given that we have real world data, we also think that the direction here would be to constrain the creation with real world data. And this is what you will see next. If we move from text to the visual space and to images, then this is actually already happening somehow. You might have heard about an artist called Robbie Barra. He has done a beautiful work with Acne Studios a couple of years ago, and he's already experimenting with AI-created styles and patterns. But again, he was using mainly some random creativity at work, and then you get basically AI trying to imitate in a very creative way the designs of that designer. What we are looking at is kind of different, and we want to experiment with instilling knowledge of trends that we have in data into the creativity in this kind of fashion styles. So this is actually constrained. By the way, and this can be made at large scale. So the other interesting point of technology is that it's an augmentation of the creative choice. So it's really helping finding something that is not really for computational reasons at hand for creatives at the moment. This is not only about fashion, this is also about interior design. So we have style detection for interior design. So we have it for fashion, we have it for like materials, we have it for patterns and styles, as I was saying. And again, this is, you just let a machine recognize and look into the existing trends in data like the one that Nextatlas is working on, and basically feed this kind of real world data into creative machines that are able to find and produce trends that do not exist. So this is actually what I was was my first idea for this talk. You might have heard about many websites doing this person does not exist, or there was another was one about Airbnb, this Airbnb does not exist. So they were like deep faking things at large scale. But the point is, if you want to make them, this kind of technology, some kind of applicable and useful, they should be tamed a bit with real world data, and this is what we think it would be useful to do in the near future. So these are actually my final takeaways. I hope I'm in time. So the main point is that preserving creative biodiversity is really crucial, not only to foster originality and to contrast, let's say, aesthetic gentrification in the form of Instagram face, airspace, and cultural homogenization. But as you saw, then there's this is directly linked to real life sustainability issues like over-tourism or unsustainable consumerism, or even plastic surgery for body modification to match some kind of ideal of beauty. And so these are real world implications that are, passing from something that was aesthetic in the first place. And of course, there's an implication for brands here, which is the urgency of addressing this kind of tension between the need to preserving rarity and niches, and on the other hand, feeding the global monoculture that they are, they are used to feed. So this is kind of a big change of mindset, and this is also very special to the digital space, but not only. Finally, this is what I will, I guess, launch as a point of discussion for our Q&A. AI is, of course, can be thought of as a part of the problem when you look at the recommendation algorithms that we are using all the times. But if designed in the right way, can be really part of the solution. And because you can, as you saw, you can design it to actually nurture and discern rarity in the creative unseen. And this is really what we are, this is in our DNA as a tech company, as we wanted to find the interesting people, the interesting trends, the interesting things, and the creative things. And so we are completely against this kind of homogenization. And by the way, this is super interesting that and this is why also I felt urgent this kind of discourse, because it's happening right now as we speak. A huge revolution that I think we will understand in the next few years. But the relation between digital and rarity or scarcity is changing completely with what is called NFTs. I don't know if you know what it means, but these are non-fungible tokens. This is ways of inscribing, let's say, rarity into a digital object which is replicable. So this is kind of having a cake and eating too. This is a strange hybrid in which scarcity and abundance stay together. So this is, apart from what we were seeing about sameness and originality, this is the problem with rarity and scarcity in the digital space is the problem of the next few years. And I think I'm done and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.